Ja, broadcast.
En ons is live. Ek wil net gou seker maak op die YouTube op die channel.
Kyk hoe daai jong mannetjie my geslaan gister. Kyk my rooi merk.
Ek wil net gou seker maak ons is live hierso. En fantasties, ons is live. Okay, good morning guys. Welcome to Week in Warrior podcast. For the guys that don't know me, my name is Roan Heiberg, and this is what I look like in real life.
Terrible.
Unfortunately, yes, thank you for the love, Arno. Unfortunately, today I am hosting by myself. My colleague Grobby Brink is unfortunately engaged with some work commitments, so you're stuck with just me. But it is my big pleasure to introduce one of my good friends, and I dare say my mentor when it comes to my shooting and combatives extended hobbies, the one, the only, the infamous Mr. Arno Barlow. Welcome, Arno.
Ruan, thank you. Let me just Google what infamous means. You know, for the guys...
It's not good.
Is it not good? Okay. For the guys who joining, I have to be honest. I have moaned and groaned and sent emails and WhatsApps and said, please get me on the show. So it was kind of out of desperation that Ruan finally just got me on the show because, lockdown. So he's running out of options. Ruan, thanks. And I'm going to try my best to say Ruan and not Rowan, because even your best friend says Rowan. But I have to speak to your parents. It's Ruan. Rowan. Good. And say good morning to the missus. I hope she's ironing or doing something.
No, she is upstairs doing, I'm not actually sure what she's doing, and I prefer not to ask too many questions. Ignorance is bliss, as the saying goes.
We call it.
But yeah, Arno, it's been a long time coming. You were one of the first guys that we talked about to come on the show with us, and I think it's just fair for the listeners that a little bit of a fair disclosure from our side that I am involved with Combative Concepts in my personal capacity. So I'm maybe not 100% objective, but aside from that, I believe that, I believe in the brand and I believe in the principles of the brand and what you teach. But I think it's just fair that I tell the guys that I am involved. So my outlook is maybe a little bit different. So, but very important, I put my money where my mouth is, that I've spent time with you and I've bought into the brand probably, like 6-7 years ago when we met for the first time. And I've been involved ever since. So I am involved, but for the purposes of today, I will put on an objective hat and try to ask some questions that would not normally be asked.
But Ruan, if I can intervene, let's also let the viewers know. I mean, we had this discussion earlier this week as well, and you said, you're gonna still invite X, Y, and Z trainers. I said you should invite other people, and even if those people don't like me or have bad things, you should invite them to give the people exposure. But you yourself know. I mean, you've got the capacity. You used to box. You used to do some jits, and it's you link to me, but you still got the freedom to do whatever you want to do and train wherever you want. So people need to understand that at some stage you will be hosting people that might be, let's call it my opposition or whatever. And that's just life. We need to give people exposure.
You brought up something very important now, Arno. One thing, I think I said it in one of the articles for Paratus once. I can't remember, but a point I made a while ago was I said that I think one of the things that sets good instructors apart is they trust their own content and they trust their students to be able to distinguish what is good and what is bad. And they are not, for the lack of a better word, full of shit if a guy wants to broaden his horizons and go see what else is out there, to cross-train and to get a bigger or a more complete picture of combatives and shooting. Because you actually said it yourself, not everybody has all the answers.
True, but it's a very fine line that we're running there. Let's take, for example, I see a lot of guys will train with a trainer. He will say, go and train with other people or whatever. But it's almost like a brainwashing thing going on. I mean, I saw a clip of the other day. Each question, the instructor was showing something, and each little thing, it was a small group, each little thing he said, he looked at the guy and he said, yes, sir, no, sir, and things like that. So the scary part is how people get brainwashed, okay? And then the instructor will say, yes, I'm open-minded, but they kind of brainwash the people just to stick to belief. And I'll take a couple of points in here. Now, let's be honest, there's a counter for everything. I mean, especially we're going to do a little bit of night work later today, 4 or 5 o'clock, a live thing. Everything I'm going to show you, you can counter, and everything I'm going to show you can fail. But we get people on training which comes from school A, B, and C, and I don't know where they come from. And I say, this is how we do things. You can bring to the table whatever you want to, okay? And then they'll stick to what they want to, and it won't work, and it won't work, and it won't work, and it won't work. And then they will admit, yes, this will only work under certain circumstances, but then they still run back to where they came from. They are faced with the reality. Listen, what I'm doing really doesn't work well. It only works in a small little box, but they will still run those trainers, which is extremely weird. It's like some people's got this cosmic mystical way of freaking, I don't know, just brainwashing people and just sticking. And you shouldn't, because a student, he should be able to go train with everybody. And some people like the cool guy stuff and whatever, but a student needs to build his own package, because all we can give him is add-ons to his package, and he needs to form his own package. And I've actually been guilty, and I'll say this on the stream. Now with the lockdown, you have time to study, and I go and study combatives, and I study a lot of other stuff. And I've realized that even I've fallen into the trap of sometimes forcing a student too much into the way that I will do it. And I realized, well, you need to back off, because a lot of guys say, I want to do this strike. And I'm like, rather do this strike. And then no, that's what works for the student. So all of us are sometimes guilty of trying to make a student conform to exactly the way you do things. And that is bad. And you have to be big enough to stand back and say, whoa, okay, whatever you did there worked. So let's just try to make it more effective. So if you're going to strike like this, let's just see how we can generate you more power, because that's the way you're going to strike. But it is a fine line. Of people getting kind of influenced by a specific way or system and just blindly believing in it. And even if they've proven time and time and again that it doesn't work, and people just run back to it, which I don't get. I don't understand it. I mean, you're going to stab me and whatever you teach me doesn't work, I'm not going to use it. But anyway, guys.
I want to get back to that, but what I want to do for today, I want to take a few steps back. And guys, if there's any questions, gooi it in the comments. We'll tackle them, as they come up. But there are some things, specific things I want to touch on with Arno. Arno, take us.
Right. Do we have viewers at least?
Yes, we've got about 19 guys viewing at the moment.
Good.
Yeah. So take me back. I believe, if I remember correctly, you're from the Free State.
Correct. Yes, born and bred in Virginia. 3 liter Ford, 2 liter brandy, 1 liter Coke. Yes, that's where I come from.
I played one of the hardest rugby games of my life in Virginia in high school. I swear those guys work in the mines during break.
Do you still have your teeth?
It was ridiculous. Yes, it was hard.
You must remember, I went to a school, Hentiselier Hoërskool, okay, where we had an alcoholic principal, and he stated, if you don't play rugby, you are not welcome in my school. It's literally like that. And that was the mentality. And funny enough, we can laugh about this and we can say a lot of things about this, but off topic. But that was the town, it was in the Huisgenoot even many years ago, with the highest rates of suicide against teenagers. Yeah, it was it was publicized. It's because literally, people thought, oh, this is a good school or whatever. It was rubbish, and people fell for it. But that's a different topic. But yeah, that's why you had your hardest thing, because probably the trainer said, if you don't win, you're gonna die. I mean, it wasn't strange for us to pitch up on school on a Monday, okay? And one of the teachers had a black eye, okay? So he took the first team out for drinks, okay? And they got in a fight, and one of the first team guys will actually hit the teacher. Hooray. But, at least I was privileged to go to a good school. I had that privilege. Yeah, in any case. But that's why I came from, yes.
So, finish matric. What happened then?
Obviously, I had to go to the military in those days. Okay, firstly, I didn't, because I applied to go to the police. I had this crazy idea that one day I can become a task force member, which I never did, and I never was, and I never claimed to be. That was kind of my dream, because I think it's in the 6 or 7, I got a Scallum Scope magazine with little stars and things like that, and I saw an article on the task force, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. But that was back in, I always forget when I wrote matric, but that was back in 91. So what happened is that January, for the first time, because of the political changes and everything, they needed to prepare for, everything is now mixed, and they didn't do a January intake. Okay, they said we're only going to do a July intake. So I just started a little shop with my father in a small town, and waiting for the police to come back. So they eventually came back to me and said, listen, it's fine. You can now join, do the July, August intake or whatever, but you're going to have to sign a contract to work for a couple of years in the PWV areas for unlisted riots. And I'm like, screw that. That's not why I want to join the police. Okay, so then police, I decided not to go there. And I realized at that stage, that was back in 91, I was 18 years old. I realized, I'm going to say this, I realized for me as a white man, there was going to be no future for me in the police. I realized that way back then. And I'm like, all the dreams are. And then I just had to go do my year military service, which I didn't do my full year because it was all rubbish. And I told them this is a waste of time, and I left. But we were still what's that English word, conscribe or whatever. Still had to go.
Dienstplig.
Yeah.
Okay, so what led you to the CPO, bodyguard, close protection officer? How did that happen?
Okay. That's, you're going way back. Childhood bad memories. For some reason, a lot of you guys know this. I started shooting when I was 12 with a Beretta Model 22, Model 71-22 pistol. And from those times, and I started reading Man Magnum, okay? I could recite Man Magnums back to front. And guys, remember, this was in the old days. You had limited books. I used to go to CNA. Anything I could find on firearms and stuff like that, I just bought it and studied it. And also with the martial arts, with the karate, whatever. So I always wanted to work with a firearm strapped to me. That was what I wanted to do. So also, people must remember, talking about 80s and early 90s, we didn't have the knowledge that we have now. And what I mean by that is, you looked at an American TV show which was dubbed in Afrikaans. I don't know if you remember that. You'll have an English show in Afrikaans. And, you saw all these FBI and CIA things and all of this. And, that's just something that I wanted to do. So the bubble burst when I realized police was not going to have a future. We don't really have these awesome units. So I'm like, but I still want to work with a gun. And eventually I figured out, once again, in the Man Magnum, I read an article about CPOs or whatever. And I'm like, that's probably the closest that I'll get to doing what I want to do. And then, but it took me a long time. It took me a long time because I was then still in Virginia. You talked about close protection work. People laughed at you. I mean, what the hell is that? You understand? So that's where it started. And then I started trying to get into that industry.
So how did you get into the industry? I mean, and I ask this because you see it quite a bit on some of the social media pages where guys are asking, they want to do this because they've got this pipe dream, beautiful idea that it's glamorous, running around in sunglasses, fast cars, fast women, guns, it's lekker, but I would assume it's a lot of waiting for nothing to happen.
It's bullshit. It's 90% of the time is bullshit, and it all depends on who you work for, whatever. Okay, so honestly, it took me probably. I'm trying to work out. Probably close 8-9 years to get into the industry, because I knew the only way I would get into the industry is get to areas like Joburg and Pretoria. So I had to do a lot of odd stuff and get jobs and trying eventually to get to Joburg or Pretoria area and then start to get on training. Now, the good old days, which the good old days. Now, what I mean by that, it was probably better off than today with the unit standard nonsense. Those days, okay, it was.
Be careful, you're going to step on some toes now.
I don't give me the whole foot. Okay, so I mean, come on. Let's.
So also, hold on, Arno.
Yeah.
So let's just be clear. So you are saying that unit standards are bullshit?
Absolutely. Let's pay 70 grand for the lowest standard that a third world corrupt country could figure out for you to get an official qualification. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying there shouldn't be some control in the material, but that's what we're doing. We are paying top money for the lowest common denominator and standard that a third world country which is corrupt could figure out for you to get a qualification. That's what a unit standard is, okay? Any unit standard, I don't care what they are, any unit standard are stupid because ons almal is skapies. We all are equal and we just need to get through the lowest hurdle of equality.
Before you continue with your CPO background, I remember you talking about unit standards. It was 2015, 2016, thereabouts. I was still employed with a large international security company that shall remain nameless. And the one day they asked me if I can pick up the firearms instructor from the local airport. And I'm like, yes, lekker. We're gonna drive there and we're gonna talk guns all the way to the office, and maybe I can kind of wangle my way in to go to the shooting range. Life's gonna be good. Yeah. Was I surely disappointed? This is a guy that trains his PFTC unit standards, you name it, he's got it. Tactical firearms trainer on the back of his shirt, bright red with white lettering on it. Combat boots, the whole thing. Looks the part. So I asked him, what do you shoot? No, I don't own a gun.
But he's got the official papers. He's got the official papers. He's a tactical instructor. He doesn't even own a firearm. Yeah.
I asked him, when was the last time you shot? But I'm making conversation. I'm not trying to be an arsehole. I can be an arsehole, but in that case, I wasn't. No, I shot enough in the army. You train people to defend their lives against criminals, guys that carry guns for a living. You train them, but you don't shoot. Oh my goodness. Yeah? And then you just realize why it's just shockingly bad. That's the standard. Yeah. That's what it is.
Let's just also be fair. I have a lot of respect for a lot of guys who does unit standard training. I mean, it's a necessary.
Some of them are good.
Right
now. Yeah. There are some of them that try. Yeah.
They have to do it because legally you are now forced to do it, and it was a cop-out. It was a cop-out for decent training because now nobody needs to do decent training. You just need to do the 6 regulation 21 shoot or whatever, Bob's your uncle and you're good to go. But, if you take and I don't want to miss people, like the deals in Touwsrivier, like guys like Adrian Rosley, guys like Mark Groom, there are many of them that teaches unit standard stuff that actually are trainers and they are passionate, trying to actually give you value for money. So we shouldn't just blanket say the idea or concept of unit standard is stupid, but I understand that it did create a market for some people to make money, but it also created a market for people who's never been in this industry to make money. I'll take and Stefan will probably listen at some stage. Good friend of mine, Stefan Meyer. I mean, he kind of worked for me at some stage or whatever, and he was a good shooter. And he wanted to do his tactical instructors training and blah 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 and all of that. But he was shooting for like a couple of months. So off he goes. 4 days later, he comes back. He's an instructor. Off he goes. 4 days later, had to drink a bullet. Well, yeah, let's not even go there. He's now a tactical instructor. Yeah. So I'm like, how do you turn a person in 4 days into an instructor or 4 days into a tactical instructor? And then the whole internet community jumps up and say, is your instructor accredited? Accredited to what? Accredited to a place where you do your tactical firearms instructor. The guys take you out on the door and say, if you want to be part of the club, there you go. You must drink a 9mm ammo round. I mean, come on. We've all been stupid and young. I mean, I'm not saying I've done some stupid stuff. But if you are going to claim to be a leading place or something, and you do that, I mean, come on. And no, no, it's just ridiculous. And that's and why I'm kind of so angry about this. That killed my business for many years because I was on the path of doing a lot of law enforcement training, really super training, up until unit standards came. And then everybody walked away and said, this is a scapegoat. We only have to do this unit standard stuff. Okay. I remember all the meetings when they started with unit standards. There was like 500-600 instructors. They were literally giving BJs to the guys who was selling this unit standard stuff, building these pyramid schemes and saying, you're going to be busy for the next 65,000 years, training so many people and so many money. And I was the only guy that turned around and walked away. I said, listen, we're killing the industry here. Yes, if we're going to be forced to do something like that, we should do it differently. And I'm like, no, it was money. It was just money. You know, I had a discussion with, when I still went to CFR, I had a lot of people that I knew in CFR and things like that. And one day, and I won't mention the company, I just asked the captain, they said, how did this happen? How did this become such a mighty thing? He said, Arno, on paper, they look good. I said, was that white paper or blue paper? And he couldn't face me. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't want to know. But we drifting, and I'm going to get hate mail. I have been threatened.
Yes, hate mail. Hate mail is awesome.
Yeah, so I've had phone calls and saying, listen, you can't say this or whatever, and blah blah. I'm like, guys, it's my right. Right now, I still have a right to say about this. And I said it's a necessary evil. I don't have a problem with people making a living out of this because a lot of people would have lost their livelihoods if it wasn't for that. But the way it was done, it's just a joke.
So, okay, we went off on a little sidebar there. Okay, so let's go back to your CPO. So things started picking up for you, and I know we will not name names today, but I know you are in demand with some very interesting people, very famous, that you look after quite regularly, and you get asked for by name. But tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, if you look at what is some of the myths and things surrounding CPO work, and you explained to me once we were driving, and you said that for you, when these guys come to South Africa, you have a very specific role in what you do because of your skill set and local knowledge. Tell the guys a little bit about that, because there's obviously rules and regulations where these guys come in, they can't bring guns, etc., etc. Just color that in a little bit for us.
Okay, let's before we got derailed, let's quickly rewind. In the good old days before accredited trading, and a lot of people want to know how to get into the industry. So I'll do a bit of a follow up and get to. I'll probably forget what you asked because I'm old, but we'll get to what you asked right now. So back in the day, what happened is everybody who used to employ close protections advertised training. Okay, they said, come train with us, we'll put you on a database. If you're good enough, you'll get a job. And that was a money spinner. And people didn't realize that was just a way for them to make money. So eventually I got to a very well-known, prestigious company. there was like 30 of us on the course, and they said, listen, we have 3 or 4 positions open. Okay, the best students of this course will get the job. And that's how I landed my first job. Okay, got on top of that class, but that's not saying I'm good. The guys was just really crap on that course. I couldn't shoot or anything, so it wasn't very difficult to end up in that position. And that's when I started, and I started. Uh, Close protection prostitution officer. Okay, that is what I did for years. You're a prostitute, because no, it is. There is no ways that you can actually provide any level of safety security to a client if you are alone. And what I mean by alone is you drive them, you do everything for them. I understand from a company perspective, that's where the bulk of the money stays. So they get expat company based in South Africa. You've got a requirement for 30 people that needs to look after of 30 families. They'll send one person out, a family without a driver, without anything. So a lot of my work entailed that. It's really, it's a myth. It's an absolute myth. You driving, you doing all of that, and. But yeah, long story short, eventually, I started flowing over into training. I had a couple of bad incidents in the close protection world, and also privately, and I realized training is lacking. So I started moving towards training, and the jobs that I have today is purely word of mouth. And I mean, I've got that, what's that? Combative Concepts global protection page or whatever. I've never marketed my close protection stuff, but now I'm extremely fortunate because we'll have people wanting to come to South Africa, and they'll ask around, and I was fortunate enough to be recommended, and then the people that I work with would check my work. They would go to my YouTube channel. They will go look at all these things, and they will gauge my capabilities on what they saw. So my whole social media thing helped quite a lot, because this is it. The other guys will talk a big game or whatever. There's an old video out that said, listen, before I go do close protection stuff, this is one of the standards that I need to shoot, and I shoot it live, and I do it in front there. It's for everybody to see. So right now, I'm extremely fortunate to I'll tell you how I got there now. I basically contract out to Gavin de Becker in the US, okay, one of the largest close protection companies in the world. But how I got there is I worked for Gideon's favorite singer in Cape Town through a mate of mine when she made a movie here, and I worked with some of her team members, and one of her team members eventually went to a different company. They used me there, and then he ended up with Gavin de Becker. So anytime South Africa or Africa came up, and it's a small effort, what I mean is they don't need 6 people or 10 people or whatever, they would then contact me. So man, it's a wonderful company to work for. So basically, my role in Africa and South Africa is purely not because of my soft skills. And I do understand soft skills is massively important. The planning, the this, the that, the all of these things. You've got some real stupid, like Dave Spaulding will say, lug nuts, okay, in the industry who wrote books and things like that, who will say, if you ever have to draw your gun, you didn't do your work. I'm like, really? So your planning can be to the T that you will know if there's a potential hijacker right there at the corner. You will know if you by accident pass a cash in transit van and they started shooting. So now all of a sudden I didn't do my job. I mean, what people tend to not look at, they will do a threat assessment specifically to the client, okay? But they don't do a threat assessment specifically to just our normal average day crime. And how do you know where the attack is going to be? Oh, we're in Sandton, we're safe. Sandton, you're probably the most unsafest place because that's where bad people work, because that's where your money is, and. So basically, I'm used to, if we work in country and if I work with firearms, I'm the gunman. Plain and simple. I'm the guy with the gun. Okay, so we will have unarmed guys. They will always be close to the principal. They are evacuation. They are sometimes bigger fighter type of guys that will do crowd control and things like that. But my purpose is not purely, but mainly for when things go lethal. That's my job. That is what I'm there for. If knives come out, if guns come out, that is why I'm there. And that's also why I get used to in Africa, because in Africa we can't always. Sometimes you can't even carry a bat and a knife. Okay, so they prefer to have somebody with a vast knowledge of firearms and how to deal with that. And because if you don't, I mean, UK guys don't carry a freaking tactical pen. I mean, some of them old SPS guys, SAS guys, I work with all of them, great guys, but they've shot like 20 years ago. So, and they're so professional to know that they are not well versed and skilled with firearms. Because if you don't live with firearms every day of your life, you can't be well skilled and versed with it. And that's where my role comes in. So you understand the African conflict. You understand, well, if shit hits the fan and there's an AK dropping, you'll go after that AK and things like that. So my role is extremely specific. And this is what we, hopefully at some day we'll start doing some CPO planning. I just can't commit to the whole idea that I have to accredit it. Our viewpoint, and even our viewpoint in CPO training right now, is not soft skill orientated. Soft skill is simple. As my kids' book, soft skill you learn from a book. Okay, you need to have some emotional intelligence, and soft skills you learn from a book. What's the problems? How do you address things? How do you plan things? Those are soft skills. Soft skills. If you are not too stupid, you can teach anybody soft skills. We concentrate on the 1%, the hard skills, when stuff really goes wrong. So I'm using not the one that needs to do the planning and speak to the pilots and organize that if we fly in with two Gulfstreams into an airport, and one, the husband is away in a different country and we in another country. I'm not the guy who needs to connect that both planes almost gets 5 minutes after each other on the airport and things like that. That's not my job. Although I need to have a backup if something goes wrong to take over that job, but that's not my job. My job is shit hits the fan, solve it. That is really why the people use me. And I'm not saying I'm good. It's just what I train at. That is what I do. That's, if I shouldn't be training this if this wasn't my skill. So yeah, that is basically what I'm used for with most of these times.
So I'm going to ask you the question. If you tell me it's out of line, you can tell me to shut up and move on. You mentioned earlier that you had one or two incidents that kind of gave you a wake-up call. Are you willing to share one or two of them?
Yeah, no problem. I mean, nobody will know who the clients are, and I'll take the lighter ones. I won't take the all-out fire things and whatever. Yes, I have had. We did a study on kidnapping. I was working with a family with children, and I said, guys, we have a use, and this was back probably 2004. I said, kidnapping in South Africa is a growing industry, and people don't know this. It is a growing industry. People don't go to the police because there's this belief that we don't have a specialized unit to actually solve it or whatever. I'm not disputing the fact. I'm just saying there's this belief. And a lot of people just pay out money. It is a booming industry. So, once I was driving one of the kids to school, obviously Joburg, rush hour traffic, and you can try to be as defensive or whatever you want to be, but rush hour traffic, at some stage you're going to get stuck. Rush hour traffic, a guy's going to see the traffic light going amber and he's going to stop and he's going to screw you all up. So yes, once got there. Well, long story short, we were already in rush hour traffic. Okay, there was a vehicle to my right where the guys came out. There was two vehicles in front stopping in the intersection, getting out. They were getting out with firearms or whatever and going for this. Yes, I got out. I got the jump on them. Okay, I couldn't drive out. I couldn't ram out, whatever. By the time they were out, I was already outdrawn and aiming. And that kind of diffused the situation. But I realized right there on vehicle, firstly, being a singular guy looking after people, you just can't. Because now essentially I'm going to leave the little kid in the car and I have to take the fight outside. I can't keep the fight inside. But even that time, I realized if this thing is going to turn into a fight, I don't have the skills, neither the training has not been provided to me to actually do this, because everybody focused on the soft skills. I had a couple of, let's talk about a couple of funny stuff. I had this one client, okay, who used to frequently visit, what is it, sinful areas with sinful
interesting
ladies
establishments.
at stupid times, or interesting establishments. And literally, we came out of this place. Luckily, I did what I was to do. I was walking in front, in the middle of the stairways, because it's an opening. So I wanted to be in the middle, not in one of the corners. And all of a sudden, this huge ass car guard, which wasn't a car guard, was upon us. Okay. And when we got there wasn't any car guards. And we're talking about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And we were literally, long story short, we were literally at a standoff of probably about 2 minutes. Okay. Me having gun drawn on him, and him having his hand there and not wanting to move. Me being alone, trying to now move backwards, like these famous scenes that you see on training. I'm going to grab the client, put him behind my back, and do that. Yeah, shoot a 4-finger grouping like that. But kind of getting stuck in that position, having this guy not wanting to budge, not showing his hands. I've got a firearm drawn on him, and we needing to retreat to the vehicle. Okay. Some interaction happened there later. It's not important for the show right there. And this is why I say a weapon mounted light is not all beat. I didn't need lights to shoot. So stuff like that happened. I just started off with a brand new client. Okay. They had a function in Soweto. It was for a huge company. And we made the arrangement and said, okay, we will all meet at the office. This was before GPS, before anything. I was putting 18 to 20 hours a day. I literally didn't even get a map. I didn't even know where Soweto was at that stage. So we had this whole thing and say, the drivers would meet us there and we'll drive into a convoy. What happened when I pitched at the office at 5 o'clock? Nobody was there, and there was 3 cars behind me, which I had to take to Soweto. I told my client, I don't even know how to get to Soweto. Long story short, we were driving on the window, and they actually, at some stage, threw stones on the car. We were just lucky that the windscreen didn't break completely, and they actually fired rounds behind us. And it was so funny. You get that dry feeling. You can't even talk anymore. You can't even do this. And I was just driving casually, and my client's like in his accent, "Ooh, what happened? What happened?" I'm like, "No, they're trying to kill us." And I just kept on driving through this whole little attack. In all of this, I realized, and there was a couple of other scenarios as well, but there's a couple of ones that things got violent that I don't want to talk about. But I just realized at that moment, my personal skill, is not where it should be. And I also realized all the training in the world will probably never put me at a high enough skill to handle all these situations. But I did realize at that stage that most of our training that we do are not geared to what will really happen on the streets. So I had to make the adjustment, and that's where I started looking overseas and looking everywhere for more. I hate saying that realistic, because training is just training. It's still play training, but training that could possibly prepare me better for real life encounters, knowing well that all the training in the world cannot guarantee a positive outcome in any fight at all, but it can change the odds. If everything is equal, certain conditions are met, it will change the odds to you. But yeah, I can tell you a lot of stories, but we realized that the training that was out there is just not enough. This is a stupid example. Up until today, Rowan, and you can go look at it. Go and look at some companies' training, okay? the close protection guys, they won't even conceal. They will work and shoot on the range from unconcealed. You've seen this, okay? You know what a huge issue concealment can be. You see how many guys are standing there with the ARs and whatever, and their vest, and at the end of the day, 90% of your work is in normal clothing with just your handgun. But it's a cop-out. Now we have unit standard training. We don't have to address that, because legally we only need to shoot our regulation 21. Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit, to combative concepts. So you realize there were some gaps in your own skill set and whatnot. whatnot. And we've come to Combative Concepts, and that's a big part of what you do now is the training. So I've done I think about 6 of your courses. Some of them I've assisted you, some of them I've done as a student. And what kind of courses do you do? I know, but I think for the listeners and the viewers, what is kind of the typical courses that you do, and how do you, because I know there are progressions, certain levels for certain courses, and you don't allow everybody on all the courses. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, but either me or you are breaking up a little bit, but it's fine. I got what you were
think it's
asking.
I think it's on your side a little bit.
Probably. I'm supposed to have perfect internet, but well, it's one of those things. Sorry, guys.
Look, sorry, I'm just gonna stop you, Swati. It's fine if it's breaking up a little bit, because the sound is coming through fine, and it's going to be turned into a sound only podcast as well. So as long as you've got the sound, it's fine.
Cool, great. I always tell people, it's amazing. Even this last week, I get emails and messages and say, people ask me, I see you do vehicle courses and home courses and whatever. And on home courses, on this weekend, guys, listen up. Me and Dylan from here, we're going to shoot to the salon. We are shooting a home violence video because people have been asking this. We are going to shoot a home violence video that we're going to put out for sale. But so many guys want to say, I want to do the car stuff, the house stuff, whatever. I'm like, I can't stop you, but no. You should, it's a give and take thing. If you want to train with us, and when I know a person is serious about it. I've had a guy now, I don't really know him, but he was some of my old task force friends told him to come train with me and whatever. So, he'll introduce himself and say, I'm a firearms instructor, yada, 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 wara, 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 fish pipe, all these things. But he will ask me, where do I start with you? Now, if you ask me that, your door is open. Because I'm going to tell you, you started the essential course. You need to figure out if you agree and like what I teach. If we can't have a connection, we can't work. It might be a personality class or whatever. If you can't work with a person and he doesn't agree, not blindly agree, but he doesn't agree with the questions that you ask and the explanations you give, you shouldn't be training with a guy. So I always tell people, and people want to jump up. I want to do a home course. I want to do a vehicle course. And I ask you, okay, do you have all your essentials on the skill? Can you move? Can you fight? Can you disarm? Can you do all these things? Can you do close quarter fighting on all these things? Because that is a combination of all the skills that you need before you go into a house. Now, I'm not saying you need that training to survive a home encounter. I'm just saying bang for your buck. You know this. Guys come on a vehicle course and they don't know how to fight. They don't know how to do a disarm and things like that. Now, that course is not where I'm going to spend the 3-hour segment on teaching you how to block a knife. It's not. Yeah. You should already know if you want to go on that course, if you want to get value for money. Because people at that level, it's not so much me teaching you. It's so much you training it. Okay, you want the maximum time of guys attacking you, beating you, shooting, and whatever. On those courses, I don't want to spend 6 hours frontside trigger finger press. So, firstly, if you want to start with us, I cannot force you, but if you want to start with us, you start with the essential course. Now, we have launched a budget one, which after this lockdown is over, it costs you $300 plus your range fees. It's like a 4-hour course because some people just not going to have the money after this. Or you do the full one day. Always start off with that, the essential course. From there on, you will understand our mindset and the way that we think, and you will understand some of our principles. Then you go back and train it. Train till you have those essentials, fundamentals, whatever you want to call it, under control. And then spend some time fighting. I'm not saying you have to do a combative course with me, but spend some time with people trying to stab you, people trying to shoot you, people trying to beat you up. Have an understanding of some fighting stuff before you go. Level 1 and 2, essential level 1 and 2 is technically not a fighting physical beating up. It's more about shooting. Level 1 is clearing up all the essentials. Level 2 is all about movement and stuff like that. Then we start going into the close quarter stuff and all of those things. But people want to jump up on a class, you know this, which they are not comfortable with. And this is why I'm like, how the hell do these guys, some of these guys out there, take random 10 or 12 students and advertise a home penetration, what's that? Home penetration course on a weekend, shooting 150 rounds and cannot even shoot a 4-finger grouping. Why just not give them poison and die? I mean, that's suicidal. It is stupid. It's unfortunately a progress. As I said, just because you're not trained doesn't mean you don't have the right to defend yourself in your house. But if you want to actually do a course where you get value for your money, you can't do that bullshit. I mean, are you crazy? I mean, these people are just going to shoot themselves at the end of the day. But yeah, but essentials, close quarter stuff. We're probably going to lose the gym. But we used to do a couple of Sunday morning classes. We just might do it from the garage. Start over with essential and do a couple of non-shooting range courses with us, because in all our training with combatives, it's always transitioning to the firearm or whatever. You actually get way more value in a garage using glue guns and things like that than purely going out to the range. So I'll say do essentials, figure out if you like me or not. If you don't like me, it's fine, go somewhere else. There are too many guys out there. They will take you and they will put you on an aeroplane and let you jump out and shoot at pigeons while you skydive. It's good. If you want to do that, do that. But for us, it's essentials. Learn to fight a little bit, learn more about yourself. Okay, you have to discover the fighter in you, and I believe most people have a fighter in them. They just haven't discovered it yet. Find that fighter, get the skills, and then you can start doing the close quarter stuff, the home stuff, the vehicle stuff, and we kind of not thumbs up. We make up courses sometimes on the fly and say, okay, this is a good idea for a course or whatever. But my best students, you'll know this, my best students do the essentials course over and over and over and over again, because they say you can't do that properly, you cannot do that other stuff. That stuff is just the conclusion of your essentials. That's just where they put the essentials together in a dynamic environment.
I can vouch for that objectively. I think I've done and assisted on Essential 1, I think 4 times altogether. And
yes,
and I'm not a super shooter by any means. I'm, for all practical purposes, a weekend warrior, hence the name for the podcast. But I've done it, I've been there, and I've seen it. And every time that I've done the course, been there, seen you presented, it was a reality check for me once again that, just have a bite of humble pie, because you get comfortable. Second thing was that there's always more golden nuggets, because over a day or 2 days that you do the course, you forget stuff. And if you do that the second time, but I remember that from the last time, and now all of a sudden it makes sense for me. We've shared it on the alumni page. I think I called it Arno's Golden Nuggets. It was a little all the notes that I made over all the courses. And fundamentals. And when you're gut full, you do more fundamentals, because at the end of the day, the cool stuff is just another application of the fundamentals. You can't run before you can crawl and you can walk.
You're just testing the cool stuff is you're just testing your fundamental skills in a dynamic environment. That's all you do. And I mean it's so, because each time that you do the essentials of fundamental course, it's actually different. And I say different stuff because I also learn. Each course I learn. I mean, I've had guys probably doing 8 or 10 of them, and they still come back. And I kind of move them away. I say, listen, you need to move on now. But they come back because I say, this is where we learn. But that's where I live it. That's where I spend most of my time in, just on those essential courses. But you've seen it. It's almost like sports shooting. And this is where people don't understand. They say sports shooting is training. It's not. Because if sports shooting per se develop your shooting skills, why are there still so many novices? Why is there still so many experts?
Yeah.
Why is there, you understand? It's so I sports shoot to get better. No, you sports shoot to test the skills that you've trained during the week or the other weekends. That's why you sports shoot. If you do not have a progression to become better, you are actually just kind of wasting your time. And so a lot of things guys do on essential. They come on an essential course and they can't do a draw and fire 2 rounds in 2 seconds. 3 months later, they'll come on the same course and they still can't do it because they think the course will fix it. It's no, the course will just give you go and training.
You mentioned something to add to that. I once said to somebody, a course is just for you to learn what you don't know.
True. And this this is it. I mean, and I'm not being funny. Anybody can get lucky in training, but you see an advert for, we're going to do a 4-hour course and I'm going to teach you to handle this knife. In 4 hours, I cannot actually even do a proper presentation on the, what would I call it, the verbal stuff that you need to know about fighting. Okay. But the guys will go out and say, in 4 hours, I'm going to teach you how to defend against multiple attackers effectively. I've been doing this for 1,000,000 years and I still don't know how to handle multiple attackers effectively. You're going to take down Sonny and teach them you're going to handle a knife effectively in 4 hours. It will probably take you a couple of days just to figure out power generation, closing the gaps and things like that. So it's exactly what you're saying. It's kind of showing you what you don't know. Okay, and then people upsell it and say, "I'm going to teach you this." I'm how I get stabbed so many times in training, and I'm pretty okay-ish. But how am I going to sell it to people that in 4 hours I'm going to give you a slip? I just don't get it. Sorry, if that teaches at least people awareness, avoidance, de-escalation, and you're going to tell people in 4 hours, I'm going to teach you avoidance, awareness, de-escalation, and I'm going to teach you a fighting mindset. Then that you can do in 4 hours. You can kind of get the light going on. But to effectively teach people, I don't know. Maybe I'm just old school. We need to work.
And if you look at some of these courses by people that shall remain nameless, then I look at it and look, I'm not a particularly clever guy, but I've thrown some punches and I've been hit a few times and I've had my fair share. So I like to think I can look at this critically. Does this make sense to me, what these guys are teaching? Then I look at this and all of these quick and nasty, I'm going to make you a ninja. Then I look at the technique and I'm like, yes, it's complicated. There's twists and turns and little wrist locks and like, yeah, no, you're not going to teach that to a tunny in 4 hours. It's not going to happen. It just won't happen. And then these people walk away from this with this false mindset of I am now competent and I'm now trained and I can now look after myself. And I'm like, no, you're not. And it's dangerous. It scares me when I see that kind of stuff. No.
But Johan, you hit the nail on the head. You will not believe how many people I have found that get invited to training and say, no, they're not going to train. You ask them why. They say, because it doesn't work. And hang on. And then you will ask them, why doesn't it work? And they say, well, I trained, I went to X, Y, and Z. I got attacked and it didn't work. All you hear from the trainers is, oh, this guy's been training with me. Look, he's in the newspaper. He fought back and he won. It's due to my wonderful style. You don't hear about the 50 people who tried that and failed and just get quiet. So, and then you'll ask the person, where did you train? Why did you train? This and this and that. And said, but what do you expect? Did you really expect that to work? So, Yeah, I said, but how could you dream that could work? I said, did you ask questions about it? Did you put, like Dave Spalding will say, did you put some critical thought into what you are doing? No, I didn't, because I said, did the instructor tell you that it can fail because of this, this, and that? No, he didn't. I'm like, well, what do you think? I said, do you have YouTube? Do you watch attacks? Do you sometimes see how difficult it is to handle those things? And people sell Cinderella stuff to you. They sell you the first thing that you are going to do is going to work, and it's going to work perfectly, and you're going to lock here and do this. And the moment, if I don't get, I have to be careful what I'm saying, but if I don't get what you're trying to sell me in a couple of seconds, but that's me from a trainer's perspective, so I should, in all fairness, catch something a little bit quicker than the average guy. If I don't get immediately and I say yes to a thing, I just move away. When I go like, okay, but what should I do now? Then I walk away. It doesn't work because people don't respond, but people still buy into that. But I get so many people, I'm not going to train because training doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, of course training doesn't work because of where you train and the false belief. But we don't hear about this. We just hear about, oh, one of my trainers was attacked and he fought off the devil and the devil's angels. Yeah, great. But you don't hear about 50 people who failed. And
but but it's exactly what you say. There's no critical thinking in when these guys go on these courses. Now, obviously, the perspective is a little bit different for us, but I was watching an interesting video this past week from a pretty well-known instructor. I'm not going to say who it is, and he's doing, I think it was a gun disarm, and I'm looking at it, and it's kind of okay. It makes sense to me. He's getting his head out of the way. The grip on the gun is pretty solid. It's nice and tight. Good stuff. It makes complete sense. It's inverted commas safe. I get it. And then it does the dumbest thing. Nah? It turns into almost a little twirl or a twist of the legs. And I'm like, you're telling me that guy whose gun you just grabbed, sorry, I'm Afrikaans, that gun you just grabbed is now going to stand still while you hold on to it. So you can now do this little twisty turny, throwing on your back, or whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't know I can't remember the rest of it, but it was like, really? Now he was a biggish guy. Now imagine somebody that's weighing 60 now tries that with a guy that weighs 90. And he's training that online. And I'm like, really? And it was, and I almost had that little bit of hope. I'm like, yes, this is good, until I saw that. And it just broke my brain. And
it does.
I've said it to guys.
And you know what I like? Trainers don't want to be honest, okay? Things fail. And everything I've taught, everything we train, let's say we do some knife stuff. If Dylan or whoever is in there or whatever, maybe 7, 8 out of 10 times I will not get stabbed, but 2 or 3 or 4 times I do get stabbed. And you need to tell the people that, I don't have a gun yet, but what's probably the most used and effective weapon takedown, not effective, but the most used to a success rate, pistol or whatever takedown. Thing comes here, guys go into a flat, so poof, slap that and the gun falls away. That's probably the one gun takedown that's worked the most all over the place. It's probably the stupidest thing, but it happens. It's a reflex movement and it's just slap and it's all away. And then people come in and teach you. There are only a certain amount of things that you can do and a certain couple of principles that you need to stick to. Okay. But this is, you kind of hit the nail on the head. All our disarms and weapon takedowns and everything we do is not per se me getting this now being able to stab you. Okay. Because if somebody tries to stab you or shoot you, people will say, don't focus on the physical weapon itself. But now you do a knife takedown, and all you're trying to do a gun takedown is to physically get that gun or knife away. I get it, because that's the safest thing to do. But it's counterintuitive saying, don't focus on the knife, but you need to get that knife out of its hand. We have a philosophy, and this is a philosophy coming from Kelly McCann. If I make you unable to use this, I've effectively disarmed you. So you get all these, what we call, I almost said power drag. I'm making my own words up. You've got they're creating a reactionary gap and a time lag in the fight, where it's like, I've got this. But the moment I've got this, you, the brain, you can still attack me. I need to do something to you to make you go into a defensive mindset. While I'm struggling in taking this and toiling and whatever, do you really think that guy is just going to stand there? Okay, and we get it. If I hope this afternoon, I'm trying to start it. We're going to go through, and it's not. Please, guys go negative. I don't know why you're trying to break down other people's stuff. And I'm not. I'm showing it to you from our combative principle side. You can argue against my principles. You can argue against it. It's an open forum. You can say this and this won't work. But hopefully this afternoon, we're going to go through a couple of knife stuff. Okay, and we'll go through our own knife stuff, and I'll tell you step by step. This is where you can get screwed. This is where you can get screwed. This is where you can get screwed. But at least you get screwed less. Okay, which might be a bad thing. I think some people, all depends what you're talking about. Some people want to get screwed more. But anyway, guys, and then we'll go and say, if I do this, this is against our principle, and our principle is there because of this. On some of the knife stuff, I will show this afternoon. I said, you know what? Initially, they start off correct because they're moving outside, out of the line of the weapon, where we sometimes go into the line of the weapon. Okay, but we lose one principle, but we gain another principle by we create space by crashing. Okay, so we're sticking to principles, and you have to understand principles of a fight. And this is where probably boxing is one of the greatest things, how they move and how they create and work in gaps. And you need to understand that to decipher what you're going to do under the attack. And it's like, it works, but you can't go and run and say, pre-plan. You get these guys like prepaid cars. They pre-plan, they see your thing, and then they pre-plan how they're going to counter you. A counter should be done like that. A counter should not be done, I'm going to stab you I'm going to slash you in the face, but I know you're going to block, so I'm going to go and I'm going to dummy fuck you, okay, and stab you in the stomach. If attackers works like that, we all will die, okay? We will all absolutely die. Thank heavens, probably 95% of attacks, the attack is, I'm going to take this knife, I'm going to stab you in the throat. If that doesn't happen, I need to make a B and a C plan on the run. And then you get these guys a dummy strike. If a guy starts dummy work, you are in serious trouble. But you have to, we hope this afternoon we can discuss some of these points, and it's something that you have to do physical. That's why I'm glad Dylan is here to show you. This is the questions we ask. You don't have to agree with it. Just listen to our questions and go and ask, does the questions make sense? Because of course, we don't have all the answers. We're not the best who are, but I will give you an explanation for everything we do. And I won't thumb suck it. I will give you based on science and principles.
To add to that, even if you take away the principles or forget about combative concepts for just a second, it comes back to critical thinking for you as a student. To look at something and say, hold on. And this is the way I do it when I look at something. And once again, weekend warrior, not an expert. What this person is showing me, sorry, here's my hand. Does this make logical sense? Can I look at, okay, does it, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, does it make sense to me? Number 2, can I do this while I'm tired, bleeding, gutful, sweating, whatever. Does it rely on small motor movements, which is going to go to shit the moment when the adrenaline starts pumping? And something which kind of, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say a pet hate of mine, but it's something that I've picked up before. Guys will do stuff, moves, and then they start giving up the foundation in that they start turning their feet, they start twisting their legs. And then I look at this like, if that guy starts struggling, he's going to pull you over and you're going to fall. Then all of that twirly shit is going to go out the window because you're going to be on your back. Because if it goes, and then that brings me to my fourth point, where if it goes wrong, do you have a plan B? If that grip that you have goes wrong, sort of hand here, can I at least then, it goes wrong here, can I pull that gun hand to my chest or whatever, and now we're stewing from here. But that's a plan B if this goes wrong. But if you start jumping, twirling, doing shoulder throws and what, a lot of that falls away because you're so focused on getting the whatever that was taught right that it becomes more, it's probably going to cause more harm than good. So look at this critically. And it's yes, and it scares me sometimes, some of the stuff.
Yeah, we call it branching. It is the percentage chance of your first initial thing that you will do that it will work well is minimal. Okay, and you must still model success, but consider failure. So your first thing that you will do will probably not work. But the problem we have is non-realistic responding attackers. Okay, we program people how to respond. I sometimes take students and say, okay, by now we've done this 20 times. You know what I'm going to do. Okay, forget about that. I want you, and this is a trick in training. This is the biggest secret in training. If you can get your partner to do this, you say, okay, me and you know exactly what I'm going to do, and you can start countering it because you know what I'm going to do, and things like that. The biggest secret you can sell your training partner is, okay, A, get your mind in the game and say, I'm a real attacker. Okay. B, say, I'm going to take this knife, I'm going to stab it right there in your heart. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pure focus. I have 100% drive and focus just to stab that into your heart. Right there, I want you on a automatic response, respond to what is happening. Okay, not a pre-programmed what your guru said and because you will see that I will say, yeah, if I block like this, the knife is going to come down like this, and then I do this, and then people start reacting that way. I'm like, forget about everything I say. Stab. That guy blocks you. React with free will, and then all that footwork and stuff like that's going to fly out because you are going to overrun that person. You are going to make him fall. But the problem is we don't give our students or the attackers the free will within parameters, not by screwing each other up, but free will to respond. Because you know what? Then your stuff's going to look ugly. You know what? Then your stuff is not. I'm going to say that.
Going to look nice on YouTube.
Yeah, it's not going to look good on YouTube. It is. You know what's the biggest compliment to me ever? That students say, it's a bit scruffy and ugly, Arno. I'm like, yeah, but that's exactly how I want it to be. I want it to be scruffy and ugly. I don't want it to be clean. If you defend yourself and the lines are clean, that guy never wanted to kill you. Honestly, or he's just drunk or so slow or he's a sloth or something. But if it's clean, he probably was not in there for a fight. I mean, we did this last night. And I wanted to put the videos up, but the videos looks so crap. So we had a good 45-minute session, me and Dylan, yesterday. And each drill I did, he said, oh, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Okay, and each drill, I just thought about something worse and worse and worse to do. So on the minute 40, we did a drill where we took those elastic bands around your waist, and I kind of tie you against the heavy bag. So you can't move much. Gloves on, mask on, and that other guy must just come pummeling in and beat you up. We do it for 10 seconds or 15 seconds, 10 seconds rest, 15 seconds, 10-second rest. Your heart rate, I must go and check. I think I went up to 185. And we went hard, and it felt awesome, whatever. But when we replayed the video, we looked like two tortoises fighting for a piece of tomato. It looks nowhere as intense as it felt, because we are by that time tired, we are drained, our heart rate is up, and it looks too bad. Literally, it looks too. If I put that up, you're going to say, come on, that was just a light match. But at that stage, that tiredness, that height of there is a consequence. The fight just doesn't look that way. I mean, we got up this morning, we stiff and blah, blah, blah. But if you look at the footage, it looks horrendous. It's slow, it's sluggish, there's no power generation. At one stage, Dylan, I think, caught me with a good uppercut, okay? And he kind of stopped because he expected me to kind of drop. He said, I'm pretty sure that was a hard shot. And I'm like, I just don't care. And that's another thing. It's all things equal. In a guy, I'm not saying I have a fighting attitude, but I have an attitude. I don't know, my chin is going, but maybe I have still got a decent chin. If somebody had a softer chin, you would have dropped him. And he expected that shot should have dropped me. And I thought I was bleeding, but I wasn't. So it's also that expectation. But it's exactly as you say, and I'm veering off. Boxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever. You can be kettlebell fit. We were talking about this morning. You can be kettlebell fit. You can be running fit. You can be everything fit. But go and play around for a couple of rounds in a boxing ring.
Yeah, I can vouch on that. It was crazy.
It is I don't know why God maybe doesn't want me yet. I don't know why I haven't died in a heart attack when we do this, because I literally get up to 185 beats. And we're not talking about full-on sparring. Okay, when we spar, we do kicks and stuff like that. So I do believe if we just box, you do tire out a little bit less than using the kicks. Because kicks just takes more oxygen. But go spar or roll on the ground. That is fitness. You can swing. And we had this discussion because I've been terrible in lockdown, terrible in training, but we've been focusing on a lot of stuff. Dylan has been isolating and training quite hard. So when we got together last night, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be screwed because Dylan's way fitter than me. He's going to outfight me. But on each break, both of us were standing like that because it's just a different way of fitness. It is just something completely different.
It's so true. I mean, I took up boxing last year. I've got some background and some other stuff, and then last year on your advice, I started taking up boxing. And earlier this year, I had a little bit of an injury, which took me out for a couple of weeks, and then lockdown happened. So for all practical purposes, I haven't boxed, for probably about 3 odd months. So, and I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, out of all the stuff I've done, CrossFit, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I paddle, I've done all that stuff, nothing made me as tired as boxing. Without a shadow of a doubt. Nothing ever came remotely close to the exhaustion I felt in the ring. I know when Blackie Swart, he also enjoys the show. He might actually be watching. He always has a lot because I'm the oldest guy in class some days. And then he laughs at me and says, yeah, this it's anders. And I said, no, it's and it just breaks you down. And the more tired you become, the more you get hit. And
that's the whole thing. It's probably not because what you do. I can go much harder on punching bags for 15 or 20 minutes. I can't fight that way, but it's purely because of the consequence. There is a consequence. I'm tired. I'm going to drop my guard. You're going to smack me in the face. And that consequence raises your heart rate immediately. Because I'm swinging a kettlebell. If I get tired, I put the kettlebell down. No harm, no foul. You and me are boxing. I put my hands down. You're going to knock me on the chin. I'm going to lie on the ground. So it's all of a sudden a consequence. And, very few people really like getting hit in the face. I like
it. Sucks.
But it's not nice. It's not lekker when tips me one, and it's like, and I know the day is going to come that he's just going to drop me, because you know, in fairness, he will be my successor, and it is that alpha male challenge. I mean, I'm 46, he's 27, he's strong as an ox, he's fitness and whatever. I just got a little bit more experience, but I know the day is going to come that he's going to put me on my arse at some stage, and it sucks, but it's reality. That kind of keeps me on my toes to try to go one step ahead. But I know that day is going to come, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore, and it sucks. It sucks.
But you know, that makes me laugh, because if I look on Facebook, and how many guys are, what's the word? Neergevolle bliksem. I'm gonna boer them. Nah? I'll fight my way out. I'm like, yeah, bro. When was the last time you threw a punch? When was the last time you went at it with somebody? And this is not because I want to be an arsehole about it. It's just guys have no idea how tiring it is to fight. It's ridiculous, and they live in this fantasy world of, I'm gonna gooi for 2 minutes, and no, you won't.
Especially now,
it's just not gonna happen.
Especially now, with all the police stuff and whatever going on, and the unlawful arrest and the abuse, whatever. But I would not allow that. I'm like, okay, what exactly are you going to do with these two guys in front of you? Please tell. No, please tell me. What are you going to do? And when is the last time that you actually threw a fist? Do you actually know if you still got a swing or not? When was the last time you got nicked in the face? I said, now these guys are drawing guns. Now it's 2 against 1. It's all big mouths. I know what I have visually and mentally prepared to do in some of these circumstances. I just hope that I will be able to do it, but I'm not going to say, I'm just saying I'm not going to leave it. You're not going to touch me. You're not going to touch my family. You're not going to touch my kid. But on saying, and people say, they can come. Really? When last did you watch a boxing match? You know, they can come. Now we are putting 3 or 4 people in front of you, and I'm going to just bliksem them all out. Please, it's ridiculous. Ruan, do we have any questions?
Okay, yeah, we're running a little bit over time, but we were talking, and I see we still had viewers, so I let it run a bit. One year, we're from Nico van der Merwe. How do you handle a student on a more advanced combative course of yours, but with no real fundamentals, and they are not supposed to be there?
Ruan, I'm quickly going to answer that. You're going to give me 30 seconds because my laptop battery is running dead. I just need to grab the charger quickly. It's my laptop.
Grab your charger.
Okay, yeah, the charger. So it's quite simple. I tone them down. They can just do what they can do. I do throw them in the mix to make feel that they shouldn't be there, but I don't do this on purpose. On the realization that they shouldn't be there, and I take them to the level that I can. But here's a pretty part of combatives. He shouldn't be there. He doesn't have the experience. But combatives is simple enough for me to quickly in 5 minutes show him, okay, you're going to be in this scenario, just do this. You know, I'll just tell a guy, you're in a clinch, walk violently. And I say, what do you mean walk violently? Just fucking lift the knees and walk. But we do cater. I allow, if you get a partner, if you're at a higher level, I allow you to run with your partner at a higher level. If you're at a lower level, I allow you to run at a lower level, because there's no reason to make a fool of somebody. They are there, they've paid the money, they've maybe overstepped their boundaries. It's fine, they will realize it. And you just tone them down. And sometimes I will do a drill and say, you're not going to do this. Just watch the people doing this. So you just bring it down to because it's personal development. It's not unit standard. It's not outcome based. It's everybody on their skill level to try to incrementally increase their skill level. I'm just going to grab that charger.
Grab your charger. All right, guys, thanks for sticking with us. I know we're a little bit over time, but we got a bit off on a tangent, and I see we've still got a pretty bunch of viewers. So, guys, quite some questions in there. We've got a big surprise at the end of the show. So just stick around. Stick around, and I'll tell you what the surprise is.
Guys, it's such a big surprise. I want our interview to finish and I'm waiting for next Sunday. Okay, my show is irrelevant. Switch off. Just wait till next Sunday. Okay, that's when it's going to happen. Sorry, what's that question that I missed?
All right. So next question from Mr. Tapio Alto. I've met Tapio last year. He's from Norway, and he is a pretty sharp guy with quite a bit of experience. His question, Mr. Barlow, how are you? As a CPO, one sometimes meet difficult principles, but I'm interested to hear about your worst client service provider experience. He's asking because he's working for a US training company, and sometimes he's got clients and students that are overconfident, and he was wondering, how do you deal with difficult clients and difficult students?
Tapio, thank you for the question. It's probably unfair asking me that, because right now CPO is a part of my business.
Sorry, he's from Finland.
Finland, okay.
Sorry, he's from Finland. Sorry, Tapio.
So right now I'm at this point where I don't do full-time CPO work. Okay, I have in my business framework, I need to do certain amount of work to make the budget going and. But right now everything is screwed. We can't do training. We can't sell products. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I can import some of my products now. But I am no. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not. There are so many guys better than me. But I'm at a point in time where I kind of choose. I choose for who I work. Okay. If it's a client that doesn't understand why I'm there and my value and doesn't pay what they're supposed to pay, I generally won't work for them. There are a couple of clients that I just won't work for out of principle. But that's easy to say if you have a backup to make some other money somewhere else. It's difficult to say if that is your only bread and butter income. I have worked for some serious knobs. Okay, it's a catch-22, because if you're looking for a bad client or a principal, you probably don't have communications with him. Okay, with any good principal, you should have good communications. And I'm not talking about one-on-one communications. When I work with some of my clients, I talk to them, and some of the overseas clients, I barely speak to them. They now and then, they greet me when they come, when they leave, they say bye. All communications will go through the team leaders, whatever they have. If you don't need to work, turn around and walk away. But if you need to work, then there is no answer. I know you would want a nice answer, but you get clients that absolute arseholes. You know what? My view is they don't deserve your protection. But if you need to make a name for yourself, you just need to stick to it, because perseverance is key. So you might have worked a year or two for a very, very bad client. Just beat it. Just eat it up, because it just prepares you for whatever's out there. If you start in this career and you have some of the most horrible clients, then you made for life, because it can only get better from there. But there isn't a way. You cannot. He's paying you. You can't say, "Listen, sir, you're an arsehole. Stop doing that." You can't do that. Okay. But it's a lot of. I've had extremely bad clients that tried to break me. I just didn't allow it to happen. And eventually they just kind of gave up. Okay. And they became nicer people. Cut it out. It's nothing personal. I mean, you're doing your job here. And what these people don't understand, companies should speak to them and say, listen, if you're going to be a knob, do you really think this guy's going to do his utmost to protect you? But unfortunately, forgot the person who asked the question. There isn't really an answer. I just sucked it up. When I did it full time, whatever client came your way, you took, because the company will just say, here's a client, here's a client, here's a client, take it. And I mean, I've worked for some tough clients, but most of them didn't have very bad personalities. They were just terrible to work for, hours and the type of work you did. But it's just one of those things. You have to bite the bullet and try to find another client. And just remember, the industry guys who gets the certificates printed, they just get more and more and more. The pool of available people looking for jobs are just getting bigger, and the clients aren't really growing exponentially. So it is very difficult. Hopefully, you or your people around you will grow to a point where you get good connections and we can be a little bit pick and choose who you actually want to work for. Because at the end of the day, it's still my life on the line. And if I can't respect you and you don't respect me, I'm not going to take your money. I'm at that point, I'm not going to take your money. I can't respect you. You're a prick, and I will not save your life if it needs to be. Then me, I just turn around, I try to make money somewhere else.
Okay, well, guys, I think we're way over time. So, Arno, I think it's safe to say that we will have you back as usual, because there's so many things we haven't touched on. But so we'll definitely have you.
Look, I touched them. Are you happy now? I touched myself.
So we'll definitely have you back sometime soon again. We talk regularly.
I'm just filling airtime for you guys till you get the bigger fish in. So, Ruan,
no, it doesn't work like that.
You have got a before Ruan says anything, I want to kind of intervene in here. People ask me, who do I follow? I follow very, very, very few people. I do not spend a lot of time on the internet. I don't listen to the preacher saying, I've watched 17 million videos and you should do this and this and that. I generally don't watch people who doesn't get down and dirty. Okay. So I literally have less than a handful of people that I watch. And I'm not saying there aren't more. There are a lot of people that I have a lot of respect for. But I probably have 4 or 5 people that I have respect for and whose advice and guidance I truly take to heart. And Mr. Heiberg got one of them for his show. When is it? Next week, Sunday.
So, guys, it's my great pleasure to announce that next week, Sunday evening, 8 o'clock South African time, we will have the one, the only, the legend, Mr. Dave Spalding from Handgun Combatives, being on the show with us live from Ohio in the US. He was gracious enough to make an exception to do an interview and a Q&A and a chat with us. And we are very fortunate that he agreed. He looked at some of our previous content and he was happy that we aren't too much of idiots. And he will come and have a chat with us on the show. So prep your questions. We will be taking questions next week as well. Next week, Sunday.
I will confirm. This was all on you. I didn't send Dave an email and say, Uncle Dave, Ruan is a nice guy. You got him yourself. I promise you I had nothing in. But just quickly tell us, is it 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the evening?
8 o'clock next week, Sunday evening, 8 o'clock SA time. When we decided to do it the evening, because most of the guys have then sorted, dinner is done, all that kind of stuff. We were hoping to get quite a bit of traffic that time. So next week, Sunday evening, 8 o'clock, just after carte blanche, we will be talking with Mr. Dave Spalding live on the show.
Well done, Ruan.
Thank you.
Well done. Finally, you get some professionals on the show. You can leave us new now. Get professional. While we're advertising, guys, I haven't decided the time yet. I'm going to say this again. Sorry, Ruan. I know this is your podcast, mates. We are working on our home violence video that hopefully we will finish shooting this week. In the next 7 or 10 days, we launch it. But we're probably going to do a live training session either 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. I haven't decided. I said I don't want to punt that. I just want us to have this interview. But I think about 4 o'clock, we're going to have an interactive training session. We're going to do a bit of nice stuff and some nice stuff. But it's going to be an hour thing because we want to braai and have a beer after that. So 4 o'clock probably this afternoon on my Facebook channel, we'll do another live one. But Ruan, Mr. Heiberg, I didn't even get the chance to say hello to your lovely wife. It was awesome being on the show. I hope you did, and I hope whoever tuned in got some value and some entertainment. It's not always about value. It's just a bit of entertainment. There's so much negative shit. If we can just sometimes get the people's head back into training and just square them off a little bit and say, you know what, we are here to assist you guys as best as we can.
Guys, lekker. Thank you very much for tuning in. We had quite a bit of guys. I see it went up and down quite a bit, but lekker. Thank you very much for this. It'll stay on the YouTube. We're going to continue doing the live interviews on YouTube going forward, and it will also still be on Spotify and all the usual platforms. But thanks for tuning in. And then lastly, as a sign out, thanks to the guys from Everyday Carry South Africa, Mornay, Gareth, those guys. They've always supported us. They allow us to share the videos. Obviously, Combative Concepts, Paratus are usual suspects and partners that we work with. Guys, support these guys. It's good content. And thank you to all of them. And thank you for you guys for allowing us to do what we do. Have a glorious weekend, and we'll speak to you guys soon.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, hey. Bye.
Bye.